We are going to talk about the Matrix Resurrections and the polarizing nature of the reviews that we're seeing here.
Also, you forgot to say we pulled this article from our very own website.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Sorry.
What the heck? Come on, man. Do you want this job? We can switch seats. If you want to do this, you can. You have to read a lot. And if you're like, are you dyslexic like me? Because that's a lot of work for me.
You know, I'm very dyslexic.
Well, there you go. Like, if you want to take over the responsibility and make it so that I don't have to talk as much, considering I suck at reading, you can do that. But we've got this article here from timcast.com with our favorite writer from timcast.com, Mike Robison. Robison. They're all our favorite writers at timcast.com. Yes. This article says, The Matrix Resurrections debuts to mixed reactions. The fourth installment in the franchise debuted on the big and small screen alike Tuesday. I think it debuted Wednesday in the morning. So he's talking about like late night on Tuesday.
Well, for the West Coast.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're right.
The West Coast, and then critics got it a day earlier. They had a special screening.
Well, they get, the reviews have been out for a while. One of the reasons that I was doubtful about this was Jeremy Johns' review, his non-spoiler review, which was not, he's not unkind because he's got a great way of delivering his reviews, but it definitely made me, I definitely had my reservations. So the article starts, the much-anticipated fourth entry into the Matrix franchise premiered Tuesday, arriving 18 years after the last installment. In the long-awaited fourth installment in the sci-fi franchise, early reviews for The Matrix Resurrections, directed by Lana Wachowski, have been less than stellar, calling the film, quote, laughably bad, and another says, quote, another truly horrible sequel. Many diehard franchise fans took to social media and comment sections across the internet, lauding the film for continuing the journey down the dark rabbit hole of alternate realities. However, the film has been met by harsh criticism from film experts worldwide. Kevin Marr at the Times said of the film, quote, "The curse of the Matrix strikes again. An ingenious, inventive, and era-defining sci-fi movie from 1999 has now, with the latest and long-awaited misfire, produced yet another truly horrible sequel." While Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian said, 18 years after what we thought was the third and final Matrix film, The Matrix Revolutions, Lana Wachowski has directed a fourth, The Matrix Resurrections. But despite some ingenious touches, a very funny name, for example, for a VR coffee shop, the boulder has been rolled back from the tomb to reveal that the franchise's corpse is sadly still there. Those are some harsh ones. We're going to get into the IGN article as well as the one from IndieWire because they kind of have different perspectives on this. But it just goes to show, like, when all the reviews that I've seen so far have been very, very, like, they refer to the meta humor a lot, right? So they're talking, or the meta nature, no, I guess that's not necessarily humor, but the meta nature of the film, meaning that it's very aware that it's a Matrix movie. Yeah. Which, yes, thank you, but the mic closer. Miracle's doing that thing again where she does not have the mic close enough. And for me, I have a hard time, like, we're going to see it today, but I have a hard time getting excited when, usually when the critics hate something, it means the audience is going to love it these days, at least as far as Rotten Tomatoes. But that doesn't seem to be the case here because none of the reviews from the critic or from the fans on the website have been any better. But let's talk about the IGN article first. And it says, The Matrix Resurrections Review. Maybe we shouldn't have followed the White Rabbit. This is a spoiler review for The Matrix Resurrections, which hits theaters and HBO Max December 22nd. Nostalgia naysayers are often quick to trash remakes, reboots, or long-led sequels. They call them blatant cash grabs or cheap tentpole vehicles solely meant to play into decades-old excitement. Statements like those can be easy to dismiss, but unfortunately, fans who are skeptical of another Matrix sequel are proven right when it comes to The Matrix Resurrections. There are good parts, of course. Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss returning as Neo and Trinity is a dream come true, and the new players make delightful additions to the cast. Jonathan Groff eats up every scene he's in as Smith, and Jessica Henwick's Bugs might actually be the best part of Resurrections. I've actually heard that from multiple of these sites, that she kind of steals the show. Yeah. If I remember correctly, Jeremy Johns said that he thought she had the most standout role or performance in this film. So are you excited more about her character or like new characters, or are you more excited about seeing the old characters come back?
I'm more excited for the old characters, but like speaking about like how critics are like getting like mixed reviews about it, Nostalgia Critic puts it really well. If you're not familiar with The Matrix and you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Like, this is really unusual. Usually, like, critics, they'll usually say like, oh yeah, if you want to see this movie, see it. He doesn't recommend it. He's like,
in what way?
He's like, don't waste your time. Like, it's good, but
he says it's good, but don't waste your time.
Like, he thinks it's like it's good for like nostalgia feel, but just like story wise, it's not that great, and like basically it like destroys like the whole other 3 Matrix, and he's like, it's kind of like not worth it.
Okay.
All right. It's not worth it, and if you don't like, if you're planning to see it, he's like, don't even bother, which is like kind of unusual for me to hear a critic say something like that, unless it's like really bad.
That's definitely something to be concerned to. So thank you for that. Cough.
Sorry,
that was beautiful. It's definitely something to be concerned about. To me, it depends on the type of person you are. Miracle is coughing a lot today.
Yeah, because I walked to work again,
yes.
and I think the cold is like messing up my breathing flow.
So to me, this is one of those things where, if you're one of those people who can watch an entry into a film franchise that comes years later and it's really bad, but that doesn't ruin the original for you, like some people can't do that. Like, I'm on the fence. Like, if something comes out decades later, sometimes that can ruin the original for me. It can make it harder for me to watch that, knowing the way they go with it years later. Some people don't have that problem, you know. Some people can watch the Disney sequel trilogy and it doesn't affect how much they enjoy the original trilogy of Star Wars movies. Other people aren't quite so forgiving, you know. If they watch something that bastardizes the source material or seems to take characters in a direction that they wouldn't normally go, or doesn't feel authentic to the universe, that affects their ability to watch the old movies back.
Yeah.
I don't really have that problem, so I don't think that this is going to ruin the original Matrix for me, especially since I don't have a strong connection to 2 or 3. I only have that strong connection to the first film. So they were already on their way to like not making me happy with the other 2 movies. So it's just interesting because this is an IGN article, and usually you expect the critics from these mainstream sites to be very forgiving when it comes to these properties, right? They still want access to their movies. Sometimes I think Disney gets a break more than Warner Brothers, so that maybe that plays a role into it. Maybe they would be less likely to trash this film if this was coming out through a Disney subsidiary.
I don't know.
So let's continue. It says, I'd go as far as to say that The Matrix Resurrections is made up almost entirely of good ideas. The problem is that it's not a good movie. It's a bunch of individually neat ideas stacked in a trench coat like a bunch of kids trying to buy a ticket to an R-rated film. Oof. Cleverness is met with laughably bad execution at nearly every turn.
Oof.
Let's take the story's meta-ness as an example. They always seemed like all the bad reviews come back to the meta nature of the film.
Well, because there's like a scene within the movie where it kind of breaks the fourth wall within the movie.
Go ahead. We're doing. We can go into spoiler alert if you're. Yeah, we're gonna talk.
So basically, Neil.
What you know about?
Yeah. So within the movie, he's like, it jumps back and forth to this like 2 scenarios where he's talking to a therapist, and then the people in the Matrix are telling him, no, the Matrix is real, stay. And like his therapist is like, no, I'm holding you right here. That is not real. This is the real world. I'm holding you. I'm a physical person. Okay. And it jumps a lot. Like, it kind of like rewrites all 3 This is why I was like, this is kind of weird, because like I was listening to the review of it and like looking into it too. And we'll know tomorrow. Like, maybe tomorrow we'll have a different opinion. So that could be like, I always think it's weird. Like, we have to be careful. Like, we have to do this for work because it's important to talk about what critics are saying. But it's hard. You also have to not let it color your opinion of the movie once you see it. Yeah, but like, I don't know, because for me, I feel like that's kind of lazy writing, like doing 2 scenarios and rewriting like the whole movie franchise, because they're saying like, maybe this is all in his head and it's like a big elaborate dream.
And that's kind of the problem, right? When the first Matrix came out, I mean, you weren't even born yet.
Nope.
And this was a movie that was groundbreaking in the idea of simulation theory, and all of this stuff was very, very new and very, very topical at the time. Now it's like these topics have been picked apart. There's been other movies made. I mean, The Matrix has been a cultural phenomenon in this country for going on 20 years. So to return to that same well, I just don't know if any script could have really done... I don't know how many scripts there are that could have done the movie justice. I mean, we'll see tomorrow, like, given our own opinions, but it's not hard to believe, it's not hard to understand why critics are responding this way. I'm just surprised it's coming from mainstream critics that are doing this, that they're not, like, shilling for the movie to keep their access to be able to see these movies ahead of time.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was strange when is it Paul? No, it's Doug. Doug basically said, like, yeah, it's not worth it.
He's not really he's mainstream internet, but he's not mainstream news.
I know, but like still, he's still a critic.
But he gives honest. I'm saying, but he's not tied to like a company that Disney or WB owns, so they kind of push them to give positive reviews.
But also, this movie came out during Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So I identify with that movie more.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe we might have a different opinion, like how you said, but I'm still kind of weirded out because it kind of sounds like lazy writing where they're trying to rewrite the whole thing by saying it was all magical dream. He's actually in the therapist's office.
So it says, this attempt at deep meta-commentary seems to come at the expense of the fight scenes, something that the franchise was, up until this point, known for. We know Reeves still has the chops, given the impressive fight choreography of the John Wick franchise, and all new chunks of the Matrix DNA missing, and all new players added in Resurrections have proven on-screen fight abilities like Henwick. Jessica Henwick is fantastic. Why then is this huge chunk of the Matrix DNA missing from the sequel? That's another consistent complaint, is that it looks more like a Jason Bourne movie than it does a Matrix movie. So that, I mean, that's we're going to go on to the IndieWire article, which I think is interesting because it takes almost the complete opposite perspective.
Yeah.
And it says, The Matrix Resurrections review, the boldest and most personal franchise sequel since The Last Jedi. And you know my opinion on anything compared to The Last Jedi. Be wary. Be very, very wary. At a time when Hollywood blockbusters can only seem to be about themselves, Lana Wachowski subverts that trend in extraordinary ways. Another word you should always look out for: subverting expectations. Another thing that you should be very, very hesitant to hear, because it means that they're going to take what you know and love and just change it for the sake of changing it. So it says, it's fitting, maybe even fate, that Spider-Man No Way Home should be the biggest and virtually only movie in the world on the week that The Matrix Resurrections is released. Both are mega-budget meta sequels that feed on our collective familiarity with their respective franchises. One is a poison, the other is an antidote. Its antidote. One is a safe plastic monument to the solipsism of today's studio cinema, an orgiastic celebration of how studio filmmaking has created a feedback loop so powerful that it's programmed audiences to reject anything that threatens its perfection and to clap like seals for anything that reaffirms it, even if that means cheering for the unexpected return of heroes and villains they were once eager to leave behind. He's clearly referring to to Andrew Garfield, and people didn't like him as the Amazing Spider-Man, but then when he comes back, he's clearly lovable again because it fits into their view, this, like you said, the feedback loop. I actually think the writing here is really good. I think it's kind of elitist and highbrow. You know what I mean? He's working very hard to sound. Well, maybe he's not working very hard. It's trying to sound extremely intelligent for a movie that's, for all intents and purposes, seems to just be a big blockbuster tentpole movie, right?
Or he just got a book for AP English and just found all the synonyms.
I will give him a benefit of the doubt and say that he always writes like this. That's fine. The article's well written, but his opinion of the movie is his opinion. That's the beauty of this. He's allowed to believe what he wants. But
everybody has their right to their own opinion, which that's why Brett and I still want to watch this movie and review it for tomorrow. Yep.
The other is a jagged little red pill of a blockbuster that exhumes its intellectual property with such a pronounced sense of deja vu that the comforts of its memory start to feel like bars of a cage. And the perfect circle of its feedback loop blurs into a particle accelerator spinning faster and faster in order to create something new and romantic. Okay. Well, I take that as to mean like it takes its intellectual property and then the deja vu, the comforts of it. So it's like saying like the old property, the one that everybody knows and love, is somehow like holding back this vision. That's what he's saying. Like, that's what I feel like he's saying. He's saying like it wants to be its own thing so bad that what you know and love about the Matrix is just holding back this new vision they have for the property.
Maybe I can kind of see what he's talking about, but still,
that's giving the most charitable take on the movie, I think, right? Mm-hmm. So it's taking what, for all intents and purposes, looks to be like a C plus or a C movie with a lot of misfires and giving it like a flowery coat to make it sound better than it is.
Mm-hmm. It was like a C minus, trying to avoid that D, but then it still went to an F.
Yeah, exactly. I'm scrolling farther down the article here because there's another part that I wanted to read about. Once upon a time, at the brink of history between one century and another, there was a corporate drone who doubted the true nature of his world and grew obsessed with finding the man who could show him what lay beneath the curtain. This time around, Thomas Anderson, Keanu Reeves, is a creative genius who designed the curtain, and he's doing everything he can to convince himself that nothing is on the other side. See, I don't think you need
the therapist part.
Yeah, I don't think they need to go there. Yeah. I think continuing that story without changing that character is the better way to go. That's just my personal opinion. Like, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it doesn't seem like it's resonating with audiences the way that they were hoping it would. It says those glitches he sees are those glitches he sees in the code of reality. There are prescription blue pills for that. What about the nagging suspicion that his face isn't right, that he somehow knows Tiffany, Carrie-Anne Moss, the badass soccer mom he keeps seeing at the Similate coffee shop? Okay, they were right about that. That is clever. That the hit of trilogy video games he created about a war between humans and the machines who kept their minds enslaved is in some kind of computer matrix wasn't a story he came up with, but something he remembered from another life. All fodder for Thomas's therapy sessions with his analyst, played by Neil Patrick Harris, who is a logical answer ready for every question. The brilliant conceit of the Matrix Resurrections, and this is not a spoiler by any measure, is that it's about someone who doesn't want to disbelieve in his life. Not again. Not after his last breakdown almost ended in suicide. And it's not like Thomas is stuck in some anonymous noir city programmed for the characters of a simulation. On the contrary, he lives in a recognizable San Francisco so bright and poppy that every window of his skyscraper office appears to provide its own Instagram filter. See, I hate that.
Don't compare it to filters.
No, I'm saying I hate that it's bright. I hate that it doesn't have the dark tone and the noir elements that made the Matrix what it was. So, like, again, we're letting this color our perspective before we see it. But I thought these two perspectives, like this guy's giving it a very, very positive take, but they don't seem to be conceding different parts. He just has a brighter view of what he's seeing than the other ones. And that all comes back to personal experience, because art is essentially always going to be subjective. Whether people want to admit it or not, there is no real right answer when it comes to this stuff. Only opinion.
Yeah, everybody has their own opinion of everything. They interpret it their own special way. So
whatever his life experience was, whatever his connection to the original trilogy was, colors this view of this fourth film. The same goes for the writer from the IGN article. And that speaks to just how subjective all this stuff is. Like, we get bogged down in like, was it good? Was it bad? When you really should be asking, like,
was it all right?
Yeah, what is it okay for everyone to have their own opinion? And I think it is. So, yeah. I'm still excited to see it, because I do want to see, like, do I agree with most critics for once, or maybe I end up loving this movie and I can't believe it. Who knows? We'll see that right when we're done here. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.